All right, we're going to do a little review of a member of the Chasing Poker Greatness team. It's Howie, or Pot Plucker, and he's given us a little play and explain here video that we're going to just go over and commentate on what happens, just any thoughts that we can give for specific hands or just kind of overall things that we've picked up. So let's get right into the video. Howie is playing, looks like Ignition here.
Does the big blind defend a 9-10 versus a cutoff open? No. So close, but not
so right off the bat, that is probably a mixed call there. I would say that 10-9 is probably a 50-50 mix,
nor
but
will
that's kind of player
ace-4
dependent as well.
offsuit continue to play.
But you can definitely find some calls there with 10-9. I'd be folding both of these. I am
2-4. Does the button open at 2-4? No. We don't do that. That's just crazy talk.
Yeah, so yeah, no crazy talk. A lot of what I think play and explains the value of them is getting to hear what kind of crazy talk that people do. They may not be even.
I load a little coffee into my harmonica.
But just listening to how people talk about the hand, I think is really important. It frames out the context of how we approach every hand. Howie, you in particular, as has been kind of discussed, is you generally will start to think very negative things if, you know, the wrong card comes down. Or
Ace-3 offsuits, asking a lot.
The wrong things start coming down, you know, immediately flipping into, oh no, not this card or not this hand. Everything about that is very kind of detrimental and worrisome to playing a hand positively, because you're supposed to be looking for the most EV decision, not immediately kind of
open up these fours.
So yep, good
They're
open
actually asking
here.
a little much to open from that position.
I think at this stakes you could probably open all pairs. Maybe you wanted to trim off pocket twos from under the gun, you could do that. But realistically, getting some experience in playing low pairs out of position or in position from under the gun is very important to just sort of developing an overall range that can play all board textures.
Happy to have taken it down. I won't ask the same of the threes.
You should, though. You should have just, I mean, threes, you can give that a go.
We're not going to defend our 9-4 suited versus a razor caller.
This is obviously not zone. I thought it was zone at first. If you do use a HUD, I mean, there are some stats that can convey after a little bit that are useful. Even, I don't know if you can just collect on these anonymous tables, and I believe so. That it should show up after a little bit of time. But it's definitely useful for finding some sort of frequencies, especially for things like flop C-bets. I would definitely recommend a HUD using that.
Fold. Reload.
Yes. So in spots like this where it's kind of boring and you're just folding a good amount, every once in a while it's just good to have that like self-awareness, just to do like a little breathing check-in. How is my like posture? Am I framed up well? Am my feet comfortably on the ground? You know, am I upright? I think that you can get a lot of advantage from just checking in yourself when it's bored, instead of getting sort of frustrated. Do things to counterbalance
Small
that
blind
frustration.
versus a mid-position opener. I'm going to take it to him. I'll fold that 3-4 though. Raise him 4x as his standard out of position. 16 hands, they're playing a VPIP of 33% of hands with 33% aggression.
The HUD's not showing up on the video, but it's definitely good to be basing sort of, decisions on pre-flop stats because they convey the quickest.
What does Ace-10 do? Facing a raise from mid position. Well, it says, you must have a better hand than I will not fight for this pot.
Good, Howie. I'm glad to see you're sticking to ranges. I think that's really important. So I was considering doing this live with you just to sort of talk and hear about your experiences while you were playing, if anything was like, going through the forefront of your mind or things you were worried about, how the session was going. Because I think that is definitely one of the things that I can sort of help improve with coaching is just overall like in-game presence and flow and just kind of the overall thoughts. I think that's one of the advantages, having worked with like Jason Su and doing other training regarding sort of like being in the flow and everything like that.
Blues scale up. I haven't even pulled off the basic scale yet with my harmonica, but got this new app and I wanted to try some of this other stuff. So let's see if we can. This is what it's supposed to sound like.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if I can reproduce that. Alrighty, let's open up both these. Here again. My caller is a really tight player with 12-4. So we're gonna go at a sizable bet here. Take it down. We've turned a gut shot straight draw.
So with that logic, I mean, I think if he's really tight, you can get the same job done for the range bet, which is kind of preferred on the flop anyway for the smaller sizing.
See if we can realize it.
Yeah, once he check calls a flop, you're in kind of a tough spot where he's going to have a pretty strong hand, and then it's more difficult to barrel.
They called the pre-flop raise and the bet. I don't think I win with any bet here, so I'm going to surrender. Typically I want to really hit this. I'm just guessing. Alright, yeah, I probably could have won it with a bet.
I would say a bet winning there is very unlikely.
I was not feeling that they were going to release their hand.
Not very credible from you after checking back the turn.
But it's interesting now to see what they're defending with. Ace-3.
Once you forgo betting the turn, your hand doesn't look nearly as strong as it does. So he's going to be calling and able to call a lot of hands there on the river that are his pairs against the bet check bet line. And
I do wish that was me.
Like miss spades
I have to practice
like that,
it and
your
work
jack
it.
high is going to be able to show down against them and win anyway. You could consider raising 9-7 there versus the open limp. It's a hand that kind of like wants to polarize and be part of like a 3-betting strategy anyway, so putting it into a raise against losers strategy really helps because it just gets them to fold a lot of hands.
Yeah,
better than
ace, king, queen out there. Everything that an opener would want. Jack Queen getting ahead. Let's open up this ace-8. Add some money. Oh, okay, I did already add money. Jack 9 will not play from there, nor will a Queen 3. Let's hear this again.
So Howie, you do seem to be pretty disciplined so far with range, construction, whether you're getting involved in hands or not. I definitely think then that is kind of one of the things that you find out from hands that you're bringing to Chasing Poker Greatness. It definitely seems like, it's all kind of hands where you're getting out of line or breakdown just from your fundamentals. So that I would say so far that's observably one of your more noticeable leads is that, eventually you just kind of like, whatever, the good rigor of being disciplined like breaks down and you get involved in a spot.
So I think I'm going too far. I'm not quite catching all the notes as I should, obviously. Ooh, I am not quite yet 30 minutes into the recording.
Is your first harmonica, is it just like a C minor harmonica? I'm curious about that.
We have a button caller who's pretty tight, and then a 3-bet from, pretty large 3-bet from the small blind. We're definitely gonna let that go.
Ace-X suiteds are going to pretty much most of them, for the most part, if it's early position raise, are always going to be folds. But you can start defending wider with those, once you're late position. But not a very exciting spot to be in between a squeezer there and potentially another caller with a hand that is just not that good.
Jack 10 offsuit, pretty easy to defend from there. I don't think that flopped well in the range of the button.
You're right about that.
Could be though. I mean, they're a 30 VPIP.
Didn't help you either though. Thinking about this flop is it's probably very static, right? There's overcards that may come. Everything's going to be an overcard. But for the most part, if you have a hand like kings or aces here, you're way at the upper end of equity and you're doing like a really great spot. So he's just going to have a lot of hands that are just far ahead of you just by having more aces and having more overpairs. So he's going to be in a really good spot on this board.
Small bet.
I would probably bet a little bit more there, but it gets the job done either way. I mean, you're basically saying that you have a queen. And so when you're saying I basically have something or nothing, just a queen, you can just maybe go, one size bigger.
I guess it wasn't all that small of a bet. It wasn't 3/4 pot, but it was more than half.
You don't really want to say that you have a block bet there on the river.
Ace deuce suited
just because you would have probably bet the turn with any pair that,
who is raising way too much, in my opinion. No, ace deuce does not defend.
And I didn't hear everything you were saying there, but I believe it's about whether to call, and you're making, those are both, obvious, those are folds.
I couldn't keep up with it. Let's try my pace again. Terrible. Alright, 10-4 is going to fold. That we will open the nines. I definitely should work on being more present and focused on this. Devoting some time to harmonica is probably not the best use of my of playing the game, but I do want to learn to play harmonica, and it is a little entertaining for you guys, I would hope. So, and I'm telling myself too, like, well, I'm working the creative side of my brain, so maybe that'll help transfer into the poker game.
It's possible. Stuff like that is usually
spot here. So we
better done
opened the
beforehand.
ace king. We got called by a fairly tight player on the button. We missed on the flop. We got a backdoor flush draw. So with that, I'm gonna bet fairly stiff at it.
I think there's a data point here that you're not considering is the stack size of the big blind here.
It's also a fairly tight caller on the big blind, but he's only got 6 behind. I don't think there's a world here where I go away. We're going to 3-bet the opener there with that.
That's a good 3-bet.
And we'll just put the...
It's a tough spot. I mean, you're hoping that he folds like an 8 here, which it worked.
So we get 3-bet by min 3-bet pretty much. So pocket 8s on the big blind. We'll call off that bet. They check to us. Ace did flop. I think a small bet is all we need here.
You should think about that bet a little bit more. This is a board that he's always most likely going to be c-betting, and when he doesn't, what does that mean about his range?
Draw and straight draw on top.
That's one way to play the hand for sure. You know, you're trying to now fold out a check call range to a small bet on the flop is something like queens. So in that case, it's probably a pretty good bet to then be targeting that range. So
I'm not sure if that's what I should have done.
Realistically, there is some, you know, you probably did get a better hand to fold there. And ideally, that if you do get check called there, you're live to your redraws to the straight club instead of him having like jack-jack with the jack of clubs. C-betting that flop very small. He's gonna check call pretty much his entire range there for the most part. It's then very dependent on what you do on the turn and river to make that flop bet worthwhile, and you made a really nice barrel all in. So that was a good play.
Queen 4 will not defend. I sure hope you guys are seeing both the tables. I thought I changed it. Yeah.
All right, so Howie, yeah, we're approaching the end of the video here. You mentioned
like this ocean waves in the background.
That you maybe thought your concentration wasn't the best. I mean, obviously, if you're playing harmonica along with it, that you're splitting your attention somewhat. But realistically, I think you were pretty on point here. I think for the most part, you played pretty disciplined. I think maybe a few of the spots were somewhat questionable, especially that 3-way ace-king, flop c-bet, multi-way, where the big blind was out there. But there's definitely,
takes a moment
you know,
and
some places for technical
reflect
strategy
some
improvements in terms of c-betting, but
Need to stay
I think the
present
biggest
in Pokemon
thing
too, though.
of just like staying focused and staying on your game is a
So
really
I
big
project
improvement,
myself
and I
and
think that you're
see
doing
these people behind their computers and see if I can see their hands.
a good job with that.
I think they call it remote viewing. You know what it takes to become a remote viewer.
Now you're talking, all right.
Definitely it's voyeuristic if I was to actually achieve it. What fun that could be.
Do not think it's possible to become a remote viewer.
I know, you're all like, man, he's such a perv. Yeah, just me. Plucking pots. Being the other guy on the side of the E-felt, being the opponent. Alright, I think we just about got 20-30 minutes of content locked up. Go a little over.
All right, it looks like that's going to be the end of the video. Thanks for giving me something to record and watch. I hope this was helpful, and have a good one.